In this video, we will practice graphing piecewise functions such as these. All right, looking at problem number 1. First, let's start with this piece of the graph, y equals x plus 1. If I went to graph that, I would start at the y-intercept of 1, which would be right here. And then the slope is just 1, so that means up 1, right 1. So I could have more dots on the graph like this. And I could continue this graph to the left using the same pattern. Okay, so that's what the graph of the line y equals x plus 1 looks like. But now we're not going to draw that entire line. We're just going to use the part of the line where the x values are less than 1. So which one of these dots is at an x value of 1? Well, hopefully you can see that it's going to be this dot right here. All right, this is the dot that's at x value of 1. So that's going to become the end point of this piece of the graph. Okay, now I erased that dot because also this endpoint needs to be an open circle because this is got to be, the x values must be less than 1, not equal to 1, so I have to leave this as an open circle. So now it's a matter of will I draw the left side or the right side. Now I want the x values to be less than 1, so I am going to include only the left side of this graph. This is where the x values are less than 1. All right, so that is the first piece, and let's go back and erase these extra dots. Okay, now I'm going to switch over and graph the second piece of this piecewise function. So I've got y equals 4x minus 1. So if I'm graphing that, I'm going to start at -1, which is here. And I see this 4. This is like 4 over 1. So I'm going to go up 4 over 1. So up 4 over 1, up 4 over 1, up 4 over 1. And I could put additional points to the left by going down 4, back 1, down 4, back 1. All right, so these pink dots show me where the line y equals 4x minus 1 is. Now I look at the domain restriction, x values greater than or equal to 1. So this is the dot where the x values equal 1. Greater than or equal to the 1, so I'm going to draw the part of the line that goes to the right. So it's going to be like this. And then I'll just erase the extra points that I have. So that's what problem number 1 should look like. All right, now let's do the same thing for problem number 2. Okay, I'm going to start with y equals x plus 3. The y-intercept is 3, and then the slope is 1, so that's like up 1, right 1. So that graph is going to look like this. Okay, now look at this domain restriction, x values less than 0. So this is the x value at 0. Okay, this is the point that has an x value of 0. So this is going to be the end point of this particular piece of the function. So wait for my eraser to show up. Again, I'm going to make this endpoint an open circle because I want the x values to be less than 0, not equal to 0. So less than 0, so I'm going to draw the part of the line that is going to the left. And then I'll just erase any extra marks that I just made. All right, I'm sorry my computer is moving so slow today. So now I'm going to graph this piece, y equals 2x minus 1. So see the y-intercept of 1, so that means I go to negative 1. Now the slope is 2, so that's up to right 1 from here. So up to right 1, up to right 1, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I could make more points to the left as well. Okay, now the domain restriction, x values greater than or equal to 0. Well, this is the point where the x value is 0. I'm going to make it a closed circle because greater than or equal to 0 includes 0 itself. Now, the greater than part means I'm going to draw the right-hand side of this line. Okay, because that's where the x values are greater than 0. Then I'm just going to erase any extra points that I put that I don't need. So that's it. That's what number 2 would look like. Okay, so now I'm going to graph number 3. So this one, with it just being 2x, there's no y-intercept showing. That means it must be plus 0. So I'm just going to put my first dot at 0. And then slope of 2, that's up to right 1. So that would be like this. Okay, and I could continue like this. But, okay, so that was y equals 2x. Now the domain restriction, the x values less than negative 1. So here is the point that's at an x value of negative 1 right here. I really need to make this an open circle. All right, so there you go. And now looking at the domain restriction that the x values have to be less than negative 1, so I'm going to just draw in the part of the line to the left of negative 1. So if I draw the left side of this line, it's going to look like this. Okay? So now I'm going to do the other piece, which is y equals 3x plus 1. So here I am at, because of the plus 1, my y-intercept is 1. The slope of 3 is like 3 over 1, so I'm going to go up 3 over 1. And I can also put points going to the left by going down 3, back 1. Okay, but because of the domain restriction that says x values have to be greater than or equal to negative 1, I went ahead and made this dot a closed circle now. Now, please don't do this. If it was an open circle, you know, because of some other part of the graph, and then you come along and you know there's going to be a closed circle in the same spot, don't make a closed circle inside of the open circle and in some way try to show both at the same time. If you have an open circle and a closed circle together, it's just a closed circle. So just go ahead and just fill in your open circle. Now it's a closed circle. Greater than -1 means I'm going to draw the right-hand side of this graph like this. And that is it. That's what number 3 is going to look like. All right, similarly, let's take a look at number 4. So the first piece, y equals x plus 2. I'm going to graph this by starting at the 2 on the y-axis. And then the slope, there's no number there, so it's a 1 over 1. So I would just go up 1 over 1. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm going to keep an eye on this. The domain restriction is less than or equal to 2. So watch this. So if I go up 1 over 1, then I'm going to be here. And now this point right here is going to wind up being my end point. Okay, because this is the point that's at an x value of 2. Now if I were to keep going, I'd have more dots like this. But I already know it's going to be going to the left, all right, because less than or equal to 2. So that means the left-hand side. So really, this is the direction that my line will be drawn. Okay, so I'm going to draw the left-hand side. Okay, now I need to erase these dots. Now the second piece of the piecewise function is y equals x minus 3. So I'm going to start that off at -3. And then again the slope is 1, so I'm still going to go up 1 over 1 like this. Now I'm looking ahead, and again I remember my domain restriction starts at an x value of 2. So when I put this next dot down, I'm going to go ahead and make it an open circle right now. Okay, because this doesn't have the or equal to, so it needs to be an open circle. If I keep going up 1 over 1, it's going to be like this. So I'm going to have these points. And because it's greater than 2, that tells me to definitely draw the right-hand side of this line, like this. Okay, and then I'm just going to erase these 2 dots, and I'll be done. So there you go. All right, I'm going to stop this video here. And in fact, I might not make the other videos because the rest of these problems are, they're very similar. Okay, so you should be able to do the other 4 problems by yourself. All right, my people. I will see you on the next video.